When officers arrived at the scene, they found a victim suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. It was later revealed it was White who suffered the wound to his ankle, and reports say the entourage tried to enter his private event. Then it was noted a witness went upstairs to get assistance from management to de-escalate the situation and heard 2 gunshots. When they returned downstairs, the 49ers player had been shot in the left leg. So a lot going on. Maurice, what are your thoughts on the situation? Do you have any advice for those type of situations? Because things pop off all the time, but how do you think those situations should be handled?
Yeah, I had a thought on it, and I just don't be thinking like a lot of young guys know, just because you grow up in a different era, you just don't have people who teach you or who guide you. And I don't know, it's all speculation. Of course, little baby's there, they got into an argument, so you'll blame whoever he's with. But I'm speaking to the football players in this regard. In this day and age, man, when you're dealing with egos, popularity, or you argue with anybody, I think even when you arguing with somebody of some stature and you're dealing with the camera era, where everybody has to record everything and everybody has to put everybody on a spot, I think all of that stuff just escalates stuff. You know what I mean? And so just having the presence of mind, whether you or somebody you with, just not even put yourself in a situation where you're having confrontation. And I just know that it's people around people who are real popular, because there's people who are around me, that these people will fuck you up just to show loyalty to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not sure that it's a lot of football players that they'll be in confrontation with people that realize that there's people, like you can argue on the internet, and I'm not saying that this is what happened, but it's me giving an example that like having the presence of mind to say, hey, before this stuff go any further, before I raise my voice, before I get other people involved in it, or not even the person I'm talking to, just people that they love around them involved in it, and you end up in these silly situations, and we have to talk about that. I keep on talking about risk management. So like some shit just ain't worth it, and there's enough information out here that keeps you out of these situations. So it ain't just about him. It's not a saying that either Lil Baby did it or the people he was with did it, but it's for somebody else to learn from it, to say, hey man, you just don't put yourself in a situation because you don't really understand all the factors and the people around the people who you may be arguing with.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this is a healthy way to have this conversation. When you're playing football, you got to remember you're doing cleans, pause, you're doing pull-ups, you're doing power squats, you're doing everything that make you probably look like a bodyguard or anything else. So when you're running up on normal people, that's really their only method of defense, not taking his side or little baby's side or whoever's side, not saying that any of them were there. But when you think of someone like Keion White, he's gonna look like a definite threat, even though it's his party. So you got to keep that in mind when you're running up on people, like we was just talking, even though we was joking about Isaiah Stewart, but that's what happened when people run up on people that are not their size. They,
I ain't saying no. I ain't the next nigga getting shot, nigga. All right, you say something now these days, murder. They get mad at everybody. I don't got time for all that, man. I've been shot once. I don't got time to get shot. I don't got nothing to say about none of it. But outside of this situation, I have nothing to say about Keyshawn or Lil Baby. Lil Baby's cool. That's my man. I don't know Keyshawn. So let's move.
Keion White.
Keion. I don't know him, but get better. Let's move them out the way. Mason's right. Yo, bro. Niggas be like, yo, when I see niggas, y'all niggas is in the gym every day doing all type of exercise and everything else. Lil Baby, probably, I don't know. I haven't seen him. I seen him in person once, maybe like 170.
Yeah.
160, a little shorter than me, maybe 5'9". Man, listen, bro. He's not fighting a football player. And Lil Baby, I don't know him that well, just from his personality, he don't look like he gonna let you try and play him neither. So what's next? What's next? What's next?
Move the option B, man. It's option A. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, like Mo said, when it's a camera era, this is to anybody. If the camera's on, you almost gotta turn up, because the camera's on. We just saw that online, you know. Let's get it shaking, you know. The camera's out. Something's supposed to happen. The camera's out.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
No, you're right. Listen, I tell niggas that all the time. You want to, even if it's for nigga, just snuff a nigga and get jumped. At that point, because it looked like you tried to do something.
Yeah.
But it's just in general, and I'm not saying it ain't athlete niggas who not gangster, tough, or whatever else, but you have to realize 9 times out of 10, it's a lot of entertainers that even though they're very talented, make great music and so on and so forth, but they got out of rough situations to where now they're looking at their superstars musically, but they will backtrack to their original origin or their environment, and you're putting their back against the wall because you're an athlete. Mase, look, I'm really out to much to say Mase kind of broke it down perfectly because he looks like a threat. I didn't even Google a picture of Keion. I'm just saying the average athlete. Well, I was online.
Yeah, defensive line.
Yeah, it was a boxer the other day, right? I don't want to see a picture of him. I'm cool. I was a boxer online, right, the other day, right? And, you know, niggas diss me all the time, murder, this, that, and the third, so I don't be giving a fuck. But he said some slick shit, and he was like, me and him, I'm not even gonna bring his name, but we resolved this since then. It's actually since Sin resolved it. But the other day, he was like, yo, I guess he didn't like my take on the Shakur fight. That's what happened, yeah. He's mad like, oh, Kim shouldn't talk about boxing because him and Murder, now they like Shakur, they didn't like him this. And I'm like, bro, we here to just talk about what we see.
If you look good, we talk good.
Right.
If you look bad, we talk bad.
And that's kind of what I related.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yo, man, y'all niggas on niggas dick. And I'm like, whoa. What's all that about?
Who said that?
The nigga I'm talking about. And I'm like, yo, you need to watch all that. He's like, yo, stop playing with me. I'll beat you up. This is what he texted me. So I looked, I'm like, he live in the Bronx. I said, where you gonna live? Not going back to the Bronx. And then Sin got involved and everything else. But that's what I'm saying. Like the point is, yeah, you're right. I was 49. I'm not gonna box a boxer who boxes every day for a living. But I'm not gonna let you talk to me crazy and do something to me. A lot of times, and I'm not talking about Mase, myself or Mase. If you see a lot of people walk around like my man, and I'm not saying he'll do anything. I give an example, my man DC, right? He be dolo a lot of times. Shout out to man DC, that's one thing. Because he knows if you do something to him,
where it's going.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I be like, yo, man, you good? He be like, nah. Because man got the light. He's like, nah, killer, I'm good. And I seen him running the altercations by himself. And the consequences, they be
dire.
Yeah, they're dire.
That's what I tell niggas. You think I'm by myself. It's going straight to heavy metal. That's exactly where it's going. So, you rock and roll all you want.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my man DC.
But
man.
I changed since then. Me and Mo, we got sponsors, killer, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you get rich enough. What age, this is a question for all of us in the room. What age and what amount of millions do you get that you gotta call the police? What age do you get to at that age? Because I think I'm making enough millions. I might be ready to call the cops on niggas.
You pay taxes.
Yeah. That's my gang. My gang is the police.
Yeah, listen, you pay tax dollars.
If I'm in trouble, I'll use the firearm, but I make enough to call the police now, Cam.
Listen, I'm not knocking it. The thing about it is, right, this is one thing. You say you'll call the police, right? You not in the room making deals with them. Niggas is out here making deals with niggas. we got footage and tape record. Niggas out here making full-fledged deals. You gotta make a call to get out of situation. That's cool, man. You ain't asked for a cheeseburger and fries.
They ain't give me a cigarette and a Black and Mild.
Yeah, man. So,
and a Mountain Dew.
Yeah. I get that,
Black
man.
and Mild in the mouth.
Yeah.
I get that.
That's what
That's fair.
That's what our CPA asked me, Killer. He was making insurance for us. He said, how much money do you guys got to make to call the police? He said, ask Cam that.
No, that's a good question. See, this is what I would do. And I'm just telling you, right?
Yeah.
Thank God I haven't been in that situation, but if just in case, because you never know. What you got to do is this, right? If you got to call police, I'm going to give you some advice. I've never been in that situation. This is what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hello, they'd be like, 911, what's the problem? I'd be like, you better come get them before I do
Niggas still sound tough on 911. You better come get these niggas right now.
They gonna put your shit out there. Before I do something crazy to these niggas. Before I do something crazy to these niggas, you better come get them.
Oh, man.
So, you know, that's some advice if need be. Hopefully it won't come to that. Not gonna
It
work.
won't.
Yeah.
It won't.
Yeah.
It won't come to that.
Yeah.
But that's, hey, y'all, straight up.
Oh, man.
Last thing I want to add just regarding the situation, because I know articles and social media, as soon as they see something, they're so quick to attach somebody's name to something, which is why I'm super clear on making sure I say allegedly and this was reported, just because people are trying to say this person did this and this person did that. We don't know if this person did this.
Yeah, we don't know if lilbaby did anything. We don't know if Keion. We don't even know if Keion got shot. We was never there.
Not even related.
Yeah.
And social media is just so quick to attach somebody's name to a story to just paint some pictures. So it's like, even though we talked about it from a more general stance, still the question and how I read it, I just want to make that clear. Because
Yeah, but
I'm
the
not-
49ers does not need another injury.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's the sad part. That's what I was thinking about. Like, man, another injury for the 49ers. And anytime an athlete gets shot, they're never the same. I could go through the history of them. People be prominent. They be promising as young up-and-coming talent. But once that happens, it's like even teams sometimes pull away from you because they feel like you're dangerous. So I really hope that this goes well for him. And he recover, have a speedy recovery, and attack the field with aggression.
And another thing from somebody who's been shot, it doesn't, it's better on breaking a bone. If you get nerve damage, it probably never be the same. Like, I can't feel my pinky on my right hand and to this day. Like, and I got shot, it'll be 20 years ago this year. So, and I still can't feel my pinky and my ring finger on my right hand because I have nerve damage. Zeke is in the building today. It started raining. He been shot up on his stomach. He like, damn, my whole day is fucked up. So, because of the weather. So sometimes, that's why I'm like, when you're an athlete, you got to take your career into more consideration and say, man, I'm staying the fuck away from that. It's hard when you're younger, I understand that, but getting shot is not always a recovery thing.
Yeah. And
having a custom app can give you a serious edge over the competition. And with GoDaddy Aero AI built,
something I do want to add too, because I know you're talking about just like being careful and being aware of your surroundings. Sometimes people are put in situations that they're not even aware of. Because I know we were talking about the 49ers, even Ricky Pearsall, like he went shopping and it was an armed robbery and he got shot and he didn't even start an altercation or do anything to warrant that.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Happened to him. Yeah, like it's just kind of also like
it's
knowing where you're at too. So.
It's called self-awareness. You actually gotta be aware of your surroundings and aware of yourself, right? So there's certain things that you don't want to handle. You don't put yourself there. It can't happen if you're not there. So this is why you have assistants. This is why you have bodyguards. This is why you have house parties instead of parties on the bottom floor, and somebody's on the higher floor, right? You're still in the same building with these people. If you don't want to be in the building with them, You rent a Airbnb, a multi-million-dollar Airbnb, have security out there. I remember I went to this party Jamie Foxx had, and he put the party on the studio's lot. He made Club Live over in this studio party. I mean, and it was the best party I think I ever been to. It wasn't no crazy stuff going on. All celebrities was there. Was no security guards. And everybody was performing. And it was like, once your song come on, you do 2 of your songs. Every celebrity that was there was performing 2 of their famous records. It was a great time, right? But he had it in a secluded place where no guns could come, no gang members could come. You know, it was just all good people there. So that was a great time. You gotta secure the type of party you want to have if that's the party you want to have.
Real quick question, because you just made me think of something before we move on. When this is actually for you and Cam, when y'all go to an event or like a function or something, and somebody starts playing your song, do you like what is your do you like that, or do you kind of just walk through, like, you know, when people are like, oh, this person's arrived, and they start playing your music on the loudspeaker?
I mean, sometimes it's cool. I hate it when I go in stores and people do that. Right? They'll be playing Post Malone, and then you walk in and they throw your music on. It's so obvious they're putting it on just because you were there, because that wasn't even the vibe of the store, right? When you go from Pooh Shiesty to Mase, it's like, you know, that's a weird transition. You gotta play a few records before you get there. Shout out to Pooh Shiesty.
Right. The Jamie Foxx party that you went to, was Puff there?
Nah.
It was secluded. It was secluded and safe.
Okay, we back at it. Okay.
No, you said it was secluded and safe. I just was like, you performed.
It was on the WB or one of those movie studio lots, and they remade Club Live, and Puff wasn't there, but it was like Denzel, Leonardo DiCaprio, Luda. It was a real cool party. It was like all of the people you think are cool, not all the people you think are creeps.
Yeah.
You gotta be clear these days. So thank you for having my back. Yo.
I wanted you to explain.
Yeah. So nobody be like, oh yeah, Mase was at the party.
Yeah.
Not the party.
I did that for you.
Yeah, you're right.
Answer your questions Mase is correct. Like, when it's obvious, it's annoying. Like, I hate that shit. Like, I hate it so much. Like, you know, when you're young, when it first happened, cool, but I just hate when it's mad obvious. Like, when you get in the car and the driver notices you and they be like, and then they throw it on, like, yo, your whole playlist, like, yo, my nigga, it's just me and you in here, pause. I don't need to hear my whole playlist right now. Or like May said, when you go in a restaurant, they change the shit. I really hate it. I really do. If they're already playing it, then cool.
That's smooth. But like putting it on demand as soon as I walk in the building, you're supposed to start performing. Like, you're like, literally, I'm just walking and trying to enjoy myself. But cool. Right. That's a funny answer for y'all, because I never asked y'all that, but I always thought about how that would transpire.
Mase is right. When they do it purposely, it's a
it's a lot.
When you first hear your record, you go crazy. When it's your first time hearing it, I remember I was in the college dorms when I first heard myself on the radio. I was like, oh yeah, I'm out of here.
That's how it be. Yo, first time I heard my song on the radio ever. First time I heard my song on the radio, I didn't have a baby. I was with my baby mom, and we was in her car. She went to school in Delaware, and I wasn't even in New York. We was in Delaware, but you know they get Philly radio station, and the song I did with DMX came on the radio, Pull It, and she's like, yo, that's you, and I'm like, I'm being the smoothest possible. She's like, yo, this is crazy. I'm like, I'm in the studio. I've been trying to tell you shit about to go up. Or she got out, I was like, yeah. I was dumb hype. Yo, I was dumb hype. I was dumb hype. But she's a gangster, so I had to play cool. But she was hype. I had to play super duper cool. But that was the first time I assumed, like, you know how you trying to control yourself on the inside pause? I did the best I could, but when she got out, I almost got out the car and pumped my fists and everything. Word.
Real shit. Okay, y'all, we're gonna go to break. When we return, we will discuss All-Star Weekend. Don't go anywhere.
What began as a discussion surrounding a shooting outside a private gathering quickly evolved into one of the most candid and revealing conversations this show has ever delivered about celebrity, danger, and the unspoken boundaries that come with living in the public eye. And honestly, that level of openness is exactly what made this segment stand out. Let's rewind and separate what is actually known from everything people are assuming. According to reports, 49ers player Keionwhite suffered a gunshot wound to his ankle after members of his entourage allegedly attempted to force their way into a private event. One witness reportedly said they went upstairs looking for management, apparently trying to calm the situation before returning downstairs and hearing 2 gunshots. That is the basic sequence of events. Beyond that, the confirmed details become much thinner. Every additional name, accusation, and theory about who started what remains speculation unless it is independently established. The hosts made that distinction very clear before moving into the larger discussion, because at its core, this segment was never really about gossip. It was about understanding risk from people who have personally experienced what happens when situations spiral out of control. The first host approached the subject more like a mentor, offering hard-earned guidance than someone simply reacting to the news. He discussed young men growing up in an environment where real guidance is often missing, especially when it comes to understanding how quickly a room can change before a disagreement becomes tomorrow's headline. Then he made a point that really deserves attention. In today's world, where ego, status, popularity, and cameras constantly collide, situations can become heated much faster than people realize. Not necessarily because everyone has suddenly become more violent, but because almost everyone has a phone ready to record the confrontation. And once that camera starts capturing everything, walking away can suddenly feel like admitting defeat. That idea that cameras can actually accelerate conflict became one of the central themes of the entire discussion. He pushed the point even further, and this is where the message becomes especially relevant for anyone surrounded by fame or visibility. He explained that people connected to celebrities can sometimes make situations worse simply because they want to demonstrate loyalty. The celebrity may never have instructed them to do anything, but being close to fame can create a strange pressure to constantly prove how tough, protective, or committed you are. So the lesson was never really about deciding who was right or wrong in this particular situation. It was about awareness, about having enough composure to understand that you rarely know who is standing behind the person you're confronting. You don't know their circle, their history, their temperament, or how far they might be willing to go for themselves or someone they represent. And once a confrontation reaches that point, you are no longer putting only your own safety on the line. That is what actual risk management looks like. Not fear, not weakness, but having the discipline to understand that certain arguments simply aren't worth the consequences they could create. There is also a deeper meaning behind that advice, because people can easily hear the phrase risk management and mistake it for being passive or refusing to stand up for yourself. That is not what was being argued here. The real issue is awareness and information. The host pointed out that people have more information available today than ever before, with countless patterns, stories, incidents, and public examples showing exactly how these situations can unfold. At some point, pretending you had no idea what could happen becomes difficult to defend. You can watch how these confrontations begin. You can watch how quickly they escalate. You can even see how devastating the endings can become. The only question is whether you use that knowledge before you find yourself trapped inside a dangerous moment, or wait until afterward when the opportunity to simply leave may already be gone. That is why his statement that some situations simply aren't worth it carries much more weight than it initially appears to. It isn't some casual phrase thrown into the conversation. It is a mindset shaped by seeing too many people lose something permanent because of something that, in the bigger picture, was completely temporary and forgettable. Then the discussion moved into a more physical, visual, and frankly uncomfortable part of the conversation. Because when you actually think about it, the point becomes difficult to ignore. One of the hosts explained that professional athletes, particularly football players, spend years developing bodies specifically designed to absorb and deliver physical contact. Heavy squats, pull-ups, explosive workouts, strength training, and endless conditioning are all designed to make them more powerful on the field. But once that same athlete steps away from the stadium and enters a hallway, parking lot, nightclub, or private event, that physical presence can be interpreted completely differently by people who don't know them. Suddenly, that size and strength can look like intimidation. It doesn't necessarily matter what the athlete intended to do. To someone who has no idea who they are or why they're approaching, a huge and physically imposing person moving toward them during an already tense situation can look like danger coming closer, even if that athlete is legitimately invited, even if they are hosting the event, and even if they have every right to be there. That is the uncomfortable irony at the center of this point. The very body an athlete spends his career building to protect himself and dominate on Sundays can potentially become a disadvantage away from the field, because people often react to perception before they ever understand context. And then, almost perfectly capturing the emotional unpredictability of conversations about violence, the atmosphere suddenly shifted in a completely different direction. The hosts turned to humor as a kind of emotional shield. They joked about avoiding becoming another headline and staying far away from unnecessary confrontations because, as one of them bluntly explained, he has already been
shot once and certainly doesn't want to experience that again. It sounds like a joke on the surface, but underneath it is something much more serious. It is someone who survived speaking through humor. And that strange combination, making jokes about an experience that could have ended your life, is a theme that quietly runs through the entire segment. It isn't necessarily about minimizing what happened. Sometimes it is simply how people who have personally experienced violence learn to discuss it without allowing the memory to control every part of their lives. From there, the conversation unexpectedly moved toward old rivalries, heated text exchanges, and the kind of personal disputes that can turn into something much bigger than anyone originally intended. The conversation then exposed the sheer absurdity of internet tough talk, and you won't believe how quickly a digital argument can start feeling serious. One host recalled going back and forth with a boxer online after making comments about a fight, which is exactly the kind of exchange that has become almost routine in modern sports media. The messages became more aggressive, threats started flying, and then the host basically checked the guy's location in his mind and realized the geography alone made the threat sound far less intimidating than it probably was meant to be. It's hilarious on the surface, but underneath the joke is a very real lesson about how easily people escalate when there's a screen between them. The earlier point comes right back into focus because conflict becomes incredibly easy when ego and audience and social media are all involved. The story works because everyone in that room has experienced some version of it, an argument that suddenly became much bigger simply because someone wanted other people watching. Then, the discussion revealed one of its most interesting ideas, the difference between people who constantly advertise their toughness and those who quietly carry real influence without needing to prove anything. One host talked about a friend who never makes threats, never performs for cameras, and never needs to act intimidating. Yet everybody around him understands that if something happens to him, there could be serious consequences. That example was deliberately contrasted with the loud, camera-driven confrontations they had been discussing earlier, because real danger doesn't always announce itself loudly. In fact, sometimes the most serious person in the room is the one saying absolutely nothing, because he has nothing to prove. From there, the conversation took a surprisingly philosophical turn, while still being delivered through humor. The question was simple but revealing. How does becoming wealthy change the way someone thinks about protecting themselves? One host asked, partly joking but also genuinely curious, how much money a person has to make and how old they have to become before calling the police starts making more sense than personally confronting a problem. It sounds funny when he says it, but the question exposes something important about how success changes the calculation behind risky decisions. When you have more money, more responsibilities, more legal exposure, and a reputation that took years to build, the potential cost of confrontation becomes completely different. Calling law enforcement can actually become the smarter protective decision, not because you're scared, but because there is simply far more at stake than there was earlier in life.
One host even joked about what he would sound like making that call, still trying to maintain his tough guy image while asking for help, because old survival instincts don't magically disappear when your financial situation changes. That moment gets a laugh, but underneath it is really about the conflict between the person you once needed to become in order to survive and the person you can afford to become once your circumstances change. There is another important detail in how casually they describe that transformation, almost as if someone can flip a switch and suddenly think differently during a crisis. One minute they're joking about that instinct to handle problems personally, the old reflexes that can stay with you long after your environment has changed. Then suddenly they're discussing lawyers, insurance professionals, and financial advisors, asking very specific questions about exactly these situations. How much wealth does it actually take before your first reaction during a crisis changes completely? The fact that a financial advisor might literally ask a client at what level of wealth they should start calling the police instead of personally handling a dangerous situation says a lot about how seriously successful people have to think about risk. At that point, it isn't paranoia anymore, it's preparation. Money doesn't erase your past, but it absolutely changes the consequences attached to one reckless decision. And what might have seemed manageable years ago can become devastating once you have built something valuable. Beneath all the jokes, however, the hosts repeatedly return to one serious issue that deserves far more attention. That issue was the danger of attaching specific names to stories before the facts have actually been verified. Several times during the discussion, someone stopped to make it clear that nobody had definitively established who did what or exactly how the incident unfolded. There was no confirmed answer about who was involved, who fired the shots, or even whether every detail surrounding the reported injury had been accurately established. That distinction is extremely important because social media has created an environment where people often assign blame first and search for evidence later, turning rumors into accepted narratives within minutes. Instead of declaring a verdict on someone's night based on incomplete information, the hosts deliberately focused on the broader pattern, the culture of escalation, visibility, and proximity to danger without pretending they knew facts that had not been confirmed. From there, the conversation became much heavier because they started talking about what injuries actually look like long after the cameras disappear. One host revealed that he had personally survived being shot, and explained that the resulting nerve damage has remained with him for nearly 2 decades, leaving 2 fingers on his hand without normal sensation. He mentioned it almost casually, even connecting it to a joke about old injuries reacting to changes in the weather. But that small detail completely changes the way you hear everything that came before it. Suddenly, this isn't some abstract conversation about hypothetical danger. These are people describing consequences they have personally carried long after the headlines disappeared and everyone else moved on to the next story. They're talking about what happens when the cameras stop recording, the social media posts disappear, and you're left living inside a body that may never function exactly the way it did before. That history also explains why their concern for the injured player feels so genuine rather than performative. There is obvious sympathy in the way they discuss his situation, expressing hope that he makes a full recovery, while acknowledging that gunshot injuries can involve complications that go far beyond what people see from the outside. They also raised an uncomfortable reality that doesn't receive enough attention, which is how quickly professional organizations can begin viewing an injured player as a potential liability, instead of first recognizing that this is a human being who survived a traumatic event. That observation is easy to miss because it appears in the middle of a loose and sometimes humorous conversation, but it carries serious weight. Getting shot can threaten far more than someone's physical health, because it can also jeopardize a career in an industry where availability and performance are often valued before the person behind the uniform. The discussion then expanded into another important point that challenges the idea that every dangerous situation is caused by ego, confrontation, or somebody looking for trouble. Someone brought up a case involving a public figure who was reportedly robbed at gunpoint while doing something completely ordinary, simply shopping, with no argument, no confrontation, and no obvious decision that could have prevented what happened. That example completely changes the perspective, because sometimes danger isn't created by what you say or do at all. Sometimes you're simply visible, you're in the wrong location at the wrong moment, and circumstances find you before you ever have a chance to react.
And that's why the hosts ultimately kept coming back to self-awareness as the most important lesson connecting the entire conversation. It's not about pretending to be invincible, and it's not about living in fear. It's about understanding your surroundings, recognizing who is around you, and knowing exactly what kind of environment you're entering before you step into it. Naturally, that leads into the next major question. How do public figures actually manage and control those environments through security, private gatherings, and carefully choosing where they go? The conversation then moved into how public figures choose their surroundings and control the environments where they gather. One host remembered attending a legendary industry party on a heavily secured studio lot packed with major celebrities, yet somehow completely free from the chaos that often follows high-profile events, because the location itself made it extremely difficult for danger to get anywhere near the gathering. The story is told with a little nostalgia, but underneath that memory is the exact same lesson that has been repeated throughout this entire discussion. You cannot always control the people around you, but you can absolutely make smarter choices about the environment you place yourself in. The final portion of the conversation then became
noticeably lighter, moving into stories about the strange experience of hearing your own music playing publicly for the first time. There was pride, excitement, awkwardness, and that hilarious attempt to act completely unfazed when internally you're probably celebrating the moment. That change in tone feels intentional because after spending so much time discussing violence, danger, and permanent consequences, the audience gets a reminder that these are still human beings who can laugh, enjoy success, and appreciate the small moments, even while carrying memories of things that genuinely hurt them. And that may actually be what makes this entire segment worth revisiting, because the shooting itself remains surrounded by unanswered questions, with many of the important details still unconfirmed and potentially unlikely to ever be publicly resolved in the neat way people online demand once the story becomes yesterday's news. The real value is the framework the hosts created around the situation. Cameras can turn ego into escalation. Physical size and presence can be interpreted as threatening even when no threat was intended. Having more wealth can completely change the calculation behind self-defense. Unverified accusations should never be treated like established facts. And ultimately, understanding your environment can protect you in ways that simply trying to look tough never will. That's the deeper message buried beneath all the jokes, personal stories, old injuries, and hard-earned lessons shared throughout the conversation. It's the kind of perspective you only develop after seeing firsthand how quickly one ordinary moment can become something permanent, and after surviving the kind of situation that could have ended with a completely different story.